This is Newsday on Wednesday, June the 9th. Our focus this morning, the road ahead in Kosovo. Sometimes it seems like one step forward and two steps back. But diplomats do appear to be getting closer to a negotiated end to the fighting. And that has many people thinking about what happens next. Albanians around the world are preparing to help the Kosovar refugees return and rebuild their lives. A former U.S. Congressman is leading the effort to see that Kosovo becomes independent and that ethnic Albanians get help rebuilding their homes and villages. TV Dioguardi is lobbying his former colleagues in Congress and the White House. He's with me from New York. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, the agreement reached by G8 leaders doesn't talk about independence for Kosovo. It talks about a high degree of self-government. Will you be satisfied with that?
Absolutely not, because the Albanian people will not be satisfied with that. Don't forget, you had 8 units in the old Confederate Yugoslavia. Under international law, these were each considered equal in voting. In fact, Kosovo had an equal vote to Serbia. In 1991, as Yugoslavia was falling apart, and it did fall apart under international law, when a confederation falls apart, each one of the units has the right to self-determination. The Kosovars had a referendum, and by far, 99-point-something%, they said we want independence. It was not recognized by the Badminton Commission. It was put off. Slovenia was recognized as independent, Croatia was, Macedonia was, and Bosnia. So all the Albanian people, all they're asking for is their rights under international law.
All right, you think you have the right to do this, but that's not what the agreement says at this point. So how do you change that? How do you turn this around?
Well, the most immediate problem is getting all the refugees back, but before that can happen, all the Serbian soldiers and paramilitaries and police forces must withdraw. We don't want to repeat in Kosovo what happened in Bosnia. 800,000 refugees have yet to return to Bosnia because they were very uncomfortable with the Russian presence. Don't forget, Russia has always been kind of a first cousin to the Serbs. That's where the Serbs came from in the 7th century AD. So we have to be very careful here that we don't send the wrong signals to the Kosovars. Otherwise, they will not return, and all this would be for naught.
So what's the right signal?
The right signal is what President Clinton is doing, and also Tony Blair, to keep the pressure on Slobodan Milosevic, who is now an indicted war criminal. We've talked about him being a war criminal, but thanks to the great Canadian judge Louise Arbour, he's now been indicted. We must keep the pressure on by keeping the bombing on and intensifying that bombing, as we're doing right now, until he complies with everything he signed last week. He's looking to buy time. And listen, some of this time may be bought because I'm hearing now, and Kenneth Bacon, the spokesman here in the United States, said that they're burning bodies in the Trepčka mine. They've turned part of the industrial establishment into crematoria. They're trying to loot more of the homes. So, you know, and we have 800,000 Albanians that are still in Kosovo, and we don't know their condition. So we must keep the pressure on Milosevic because we know he hasn't kept one promise in 10 years.
Though when the Albanian Kosovars return, the minority Serbs there may need some protection. Do you think not? Well,
listen, in the past, there's not been any problem with Serbs and Albanians living side by side. The problem is the Stalinist, communist, ultra-nationalist regime of Slobodan Milosevic. He started this in '89 when he walked into Kosovo and made it a new Warsaw ghetto in the middle of Europe by taking away its parliament, hospitals, schools, and everything. Then he did the same thing in Slovenia, Croatia, and in Bosnia. He killed 250,000 civilians.
So you don't think there's any need for protection for the minority Serbs?
The problem is Milosevic. The minority Serbs obviously will be concerned if they have dirty hands. And I've heard this from many Serbs that are being interviewed. Some are saying we're going to stay because our hands are clean. Now, obviously, security is important for everybody. And hopefully the solution here will bring a formula for security that will make all the people happy. But don't forget, this is 92% Albanian. Without the Albanians returning, we will not have accomplished the objectives of NATO.
So is it okay to disarm the KLA? Are you in favor of that?
Well, the KLA has already announced that it is willing to become a demilitarized force. That doesn't mean it's completely disarmed. The Albanian people have to defend themselves. No one defended them since Tito died, and they were brutalized. 1/3 of the Albanians, 600,000, were put through the police process in Serbia from 1980 to 89 before the occupation.
So you don't
After the occupation, many were killed.
Doesn't sound like you would want them to give all their weapons up then at this point.
Until there is complete security, until there is an international protectorate, and we know that no Albanians can be harmed, until all the Serbian police have withdrawn so that the Albanians know they can all come back, you can't even talk about disarmament.
Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.